Welcome to the D.H.E show, where we talk about building empires without sacrificing on bedtime stories. If you're new to the show, welcome. We are so happy you're here to join us. Every week, we talk about 2 to 4 actionable things that you can do today in your business or in your personal life that is going to help drive results for you. But maybe more importantly, we're dads, we're husbands, and to us, family, it comes first. Because what the hell is the point of growing these businesses if we're not taking our family along with us on the journey? Today's episode, we are going to dive into the world of co-manufacturing. If you are a company that makes a physical good or wants to make a physical good, this really is an episode for you, because we've learned a lot over the last 6 months with Switchback Foods. I personally have been in the food industry for the last 20 years. I have worked so much with co-mans and with companies that use co-manufacturers for their main production arm. There's an absolute plethora, magnitude, that's too many big words. There's a lot of pitfalls that you'll come across as you try to go down this co-man journey. And if you don't have some people to help you, some guides to follow, or just some tips and tricks in the back of your head as you go into these conversations with co-mans, you can really get burned. So we're going to dive in, give you 3 things that we think are super important that you need to think about too. If you're new to the show, again, welcome. We don't run ads here. All we ask is please leave us a rating and a review. It's our way to understand directly from you guys. How are we doing? Are we hitting the mark? Are you enjoying the show? Are there topics that we really like, or that you really like, that we're doing great at? Are there things that you want to hear from us on that we should cover next? And we can only do that if you reach out and leave us a review. And secondly, please share the show. If you know someone in the food manufacturing space, in the apparel space, in the home goods space that's trying to get into having a product made for them, this is probably a really good episode for them, and we'd really appreciate if you shared the show. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking. Let's just jump right into it. Take it away, guys. All right, so Oli.
Yo.
You're the co-man expert at Switchback. You've been doing a ton of research in this. I want to know, number one, how did you even find co-mans in the first place?
I get asked this question a lot, and I think it's really interesting. The way that I found the co-man that we worked with was Google. It was the quintessential someone that can dry blend, co-pack, whatever keywords I needed, and these guys picked up the phone. Now, before that, I had reached out to a couple of different co-packers, and I thought it was interesting. They're all like, hey, send me a sample. Crickets, circle back, crickets. The one thing that I think is really prudent to the discussion in this realm is, when I was starting this, Matt, this wasn't 2024. This was the summer of 22. We were coming off the biggest boom in CPG food, probably in modern American history. Every co-packer was just exploding. Not everyone, right? But a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so co-packers were really choosy. Part of the issue was these guys responded, and it was like I've never been on a dating app, but like I imagine it'd be like on a date, like someone latches on and you're like, oh yes, I got a hook.
Yeah.
And that's literally how I found the co-packer.
So you found them on Google, you reached out, they responded. I know in hindsight now, you realize that well, of course, I mean, you had to find them, but like what would you have done differently to find a co-man knowing what you know now?
I would have reached out to every single person in my network and only tried to work with a co-packer that I was referred into. So case in point, shame on me, our freeze dry supplier. I reached out to them. They obviously know about our challenges. And I said to them, I go, hey, like, I don't know why I never done them. I go, do you know any co-packers around here? Oh yeah, these guys up in blah, blah, blah. They're amazing. They do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. And honestly, that's what I would do. I would reach out. I would reach out to every expert that I know and just ask them, hey man, who can I trust? Who can I use? I would also do, Matt, you reached out to some QA people. I'd reach out to QA people and I'd ask them like, hey, what are co-packers you've had a good experience with? What are co-packers you've had a bad experience with?
On the QA side, I'm interested there because I think taking a referral from an ingredient supplier, of course, they work with them, they get it, like they're going to steer you in the right direction. But I think the QA angle to me is really interesting, especially for someone who's new and doesn't know the questions to ask. Because a QA person or someone who's really an expert in co-manning, they can walk through it with you, right?
They can walk you through it. And my experience over the last couple months, obviously too late, has been these QA people, they know their shit. And one of the things that has been really interesting, Matt, the guy that you reached out to last, I think in early fall that we had a long conversation with.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty funny. I mean, we were talking one day, and I was out. I do a lot of my phone calls while I'm walking. Like I can remember exactly where I was and probably what I was wearing when he said it. He goes, "Rule number one, Ole, you never trust a co-packer." And then now, since then, after talking with all these different QA people, they've all said the same thing. You never trust a co-packer. And both these people work for major brands, and both of them have given me a lot of guidance. But both of them also offered, hey, we'll consult with you. We'll come up and do a site visit to make sure that they're up to par and they meet what we would have had at XYZ company. So the cool part about that, for not a six-figure salary, I can hire someone and pretend like we're a $200 million company.
Can you pay some of these QA folks to like shadow, help you out, walk through a facility with you, do an audit, like set you up?
Yeah, I mean, all the QA people that I've talked to recently have said the same thing. Hey, before you sign on the dotted line, we'd love to come out there. Like one of them that we've been talking to, her name's Sarah. We've been going back and forth. We're looking at a couple of co-packers right now. And I was able to, I sent her 2 websites. I'm like, hey, I know it's a website, which, by the way, this a-hole I used to work for had a great comment. There are 4 lies, Mark Twain. There are lies, damn lies, statistics, and websites. And so, that's the interesting piece.
Except our website.
Correct. But when you look at the website, it's very difficult. Just like if you went to our existing co-packer, you'd be really impressed. But she said, based off of the certain things she saw, she was really excited about this. So she goes, I don't know if you need to go out there and do a site visit before we manufacture. She goes, because they use the right machines. They've got the certifications. Where you really want that QA person, if you're brand new to it, you probably want them to help you identify that co-packer. But where I'm really excited, Matt, is to have her with us for our next production run. Because that is where it's going to make the world a difference of saying, we're rejecting this product, or we're accepting this product, or this is unacceptable, that's unacceptable. That is the piece that could have saved my ass.
I think that's really something to take in mind, especially if you're new to this game. You're not expected to know how co-mans work. You're not expected to know food safety rules and all of that sort of stuff. There are literally enormous teams that deal with all this stuff. But what you are expected to do is find someone who can guide you. And Ole mentioned 2 people that we were lucky enough to find at different points in our journey here. We found them on LinkedIn. Like, it's not because I had some crazy network or Ole had some crazy network. I saw a guy post on LinkedIn from a company who's similar to ours, and he happened to have QA in his title. And I was like, I wonder if he'd talk to us. Ole talked to Sarah, who he mentioned already, as a referral from the initial guy, right?
Yeah. He was, I already showed him, he was like, hey, this lady is amazing. She's the best in the industry. My favorite thing about that, he goes, she's going to tell you what you don't want to hear. And I was like, that should be the headline of the company. Like, we want to be told what we don't want to hear, right?
Yeah.
It just makes sense because that's the only way we're going to get better and improve.
Yeah, I think that's genius. In this world, in regulatory and in operations and production, you don't want a bunch of yes men. You want people who are like, this is not good. You got to fix it. So don't get too. It's really hard to find a good co-man. Like, I don't want to downplay it, but there are enough people and enough ways to find people to help where you don't have to do it alone. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, unlike the third broad bucket that we taught that I think about, we can talk more about why it's so important, like that QA person, and when you identify a co-packer. I got some more tips. Hell, we can just jump right into it.
Yeah, what's the second one? So you got someone that you sort of trust in your corner to help you out. You're finding some people. Like, what's the next thing that you really need to be thinking through?
First of all, once you have that person in your corner, you need to make sure run extensive tests. Run extensive tests in your product. Now, if you're doing something that's been done a million times over, you're probably going to be okay. We are doing something that's never been done before in the industry. a 33 gram sachet fill of freeze dried powder has never been done. So we're pushing the limits of a lot of co-packers. We know that, and I think that makes us unique. But evaluate the costs. So
The cost of
the cost of the co-packer. Like, what are they going to charge you, Matt, to put to blend your product and put it into a package? Because there's a cost for both steps, and I think you need to evaluate the cost for now for your pilot run. Which, by the way, a pilot run is going to be incredibly expensive if you don't run a mass quantity. And again, don't run a mass quantity. Do a pilot run.
What is a pilot run?
Pilot run, in a lot of realms, would maybe be like, instead of running 50,000 units of each flavor, it'd be running 2,000 to 3,000 of each flavor. Most co-packers are going to tell you to go pound sand. They're going, yeah, we're not going to do this. But do it. Prove that you can actually package the product right. Prove that you have the market, and then go. But then
I think
go ahead.
Most co-mans are going to fight you probably because it is a pain in the butt to do it. But on the same hand, most co-mans are going to want. You're finding this out when you're talking to the other ones. Oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that. Yeah. Okay, cool. We're ready to go. Oh well, we got to scale it up and see if we can do it first, right? You're having those conversations, aren't you, right now with folks?
Yeah, 4 co-packers. Oh, we got no problems doing this. This is easy. Oh, we can do this. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, let's go. And they go, well, can you send us 20 pounds of product? We need to test it. I'm like, you could have told me that like 2 months ago, so I could have sent you product. Like, it would just,
yeah.
I Matt, you and I've had this conversation. Like, it pisses me off because it slows us down, but at the same time, it's the right thing to do. So, like, even though I become very angry, it is the right thing to do.
You have to. Maybe I've told this story before. I don't remember, but when I was at Super Value Albertsons, we had 1,900 grocery stores that we were launching a new soup product in. Have I told you this? Culinary Circle was a brand new brand. It was an own brand product, and we developed a bunch of different soup recipes. And we developed them off of it's called a benchtop sample. It's when a manufacturer makes a sample in their R&D lab. It's just mixing stuff up. It's like what we do here. When we make a new flavor, we just do it here. See if we even like it in the first place. If you like it, and if it works, then you take that benchtop sample and you bring it to a pilot run. You do an initial production run, first production run, FPR. There's lots of different terms for it, but you're seeing if the recipe works at some sort of scale. Well, the soup company did not do an FPR. They didn't do a first production run. They went straight into full-scale production, and they botched the whole thing. It did not scale up. It was like, I don't even remember how many millions of dollars, and it wasn't on the retailer. It was on the company. They're now bankrupt. They don't exist anymore. Not because of that, but that's part of it. Like, you can't overlook this part because if you screw up your production, that's just product. You're literally throwing it away. It's gone. You can't do anything with it. Super important.
Yeah, I mean, it's an extremely expensive mistake. A good co-packer, a damn good co-packer is gonna make sure they can do it, and they're gonna analyze it. They're gonna stress test the shit out of the packaging.
Yeah,
a good co-packer does not cut corners. The thing is, you're gonna pay for that. You will, like when we looked at our production, our first production run, 17 cents a sachet was the blend and fill cost. We've gotten quotes from 12 cents to 40 cents for the same size run. I'm not going to tell you the 40 cents is necessarily any better than anybody else. There are definitely better co-packers in that realm, but just know that a damn good co-packer is going to do all of the necessary things to make sure the product going out the door is okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, a damn good co-packer, and I don't know if this exists, Matt, but in my mind, in the fantasy land that I live, I think a damn good co-packer would look at our packaging and go, well, we really effed that up. We need to redo this. So find an ethical co-packer. Find one with integrity and values because it'll save you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And back to the cost thing, you were saying there's sort of the initial cost. There's figuring out how much does it run to do the first production run, the pilot run, to get the first round of product. But what about costs like a year from now or 2 years from now, or once you scale up? Like, are you factoring all that in right away in your decisions?
Yeah, I mean, that is a major part of it, Matt, that you have to think about, because I didn't go into this business going, well, I hope that we fail in 6 months, so I'm only going to care about my first production run costs. We always think 6, 12, 24, 36 months out. Like, if we hit these projections, if we start churning out product, number one, do you have the capacity to take us on? Because as I've discovered, finding a new co-packer sucks. It is a time-intensive energy suck. I mean, Matt, how many co-packers have I visited in the last 3 months? And
4?
Maybe more. Yeah, 4. I visited 4, talked with probably 9. I mean, it's just exhausting.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm but it is. Like, and every one of them has their own shtick, but you don't want to switch co-packer. You want to find a damn good co-packer. You want to make sure that they have capacity if you grow, and be logical and be transparent. Like, hey, today we're here. If all goes well in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, here's what we see. That helps them plan.
Yeah.
It helps you plan. But then also you're not going to get a price break on the first run. But if you start scaling up, you want to know, hey, how much does our cost come down?
Yep.
So can we get our fill cost from 26 cents a sachet down to 12 cents? Because if we can, that's an enormous margin pickup that we get we get on the product just by scaling up.
Yep. Yeah, I think this can't be overlooked enough, because you've got to have a long-term view on the finances of the business, and what it costs in day one should not be what it costs in day 365. And
no,
you got to know that going into it.
I would also say, like, a big red flag if I don't know, Matt, like if you were in my shoes and someone came in with a scorching low price, would you be impressed, or would you be like, how are you doing this?
On the co-man side?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a rule on anything that I ever put out to bid. This is from real estate, but I think it holds true here. I always want to interview at least 3 people, and I want to see their prices, because one's going to be crazy low, one's going to be in the middle, one's going to be high usually, and you're going to get a sense of how is it even possible to be that low, or holy shit, they're incredibly high. That's ridiculous. I would be worried if someone said, I can do this super easy, super quick for the super low price.
So, to that point, it is crucial, because I think the interesting part, one of the co-backers that I met with, I want to say they were 5.5 cents higher than another co-backer. And I was talking to my dad about it, who's my CFO, and we were having this conversation. He goes, well, lay it out. He's like, it's not as simple as saying they're just putting this in the package. Why are they 5.5 cents more expensive? So you start actually digging in and understanding, X-ray machine, inline weigh, fill, like all this stuff. And you're like, oh,
yes,
okay, like that's legit. This makes sense. So it's not as simple as just saying these guys are the cheapest, middle road, high. You need to understand the process. And if I could go back a year, I think that's the biggest piece. I would have bought like co-packing 101 for dummies or something, because I think so much of this could have been prevented. And I say that though, but I don't think it would have, because I'm not sure that I was mature enough a year ago to say that I needed help. And Matt and I've crossed this bridge before. We talk about this a lot. A year ago, I was a different person. Like I just thought I could do all this shit myself.
I think that's going to be true, not just everything. A year from now, we're going to be looking at our marketing and going, wow, we were idiots. We should have done this so much quicker. Or, wow, I can't believe that we tried to do that thing for that long.
Speak for yourself. I don't have anything to do with our marketing. I'm just the ugly mug.
I'm totally going to say that. So, all right, cool, man. I think I like number one, find someone that can help you, find an expert to guide you on this journey, because it's super complicated. Number two, you have to understand costs. I mean, that's self-explanatory, but not just costs today, but costs in the future. What is the third biggest, you got to make sure you're thinking about this.
I need to throw out one more thing under the second one, because I think this is something that I learned, and it still really hurts me.
Uh-oh.
The vast majority of stuff that you get on a retail shelf was put into a box or packaged by a human hand.
Okay.
And that's called kitting. When you take a bunch of stuff, put it in a bag, you create a kit. That is not inexpensive, because it's human labor. Now, one of the things that I did not realize now, with our circumstances, probably not the biggest screw up, but if you kit the product at your co-packer, it's 3 to 4 times less expensive than it is to have a fulfillment company kit it. If you are listening to this and you're going to build a business and you're like, oh, you want to keep all this stuff bulk, that's cool. But let me just tell you, you're going to pay 4 times the cost to have that product put into a bag. It is wild how expensive fulfillment companies are. Now, that's not their core business, so they make a lot of money on it. That is why they do it. Nothing wrong with it. But when we talk about costs, understand those costs as well, because having a co-man kit can save you a shitload of money.
Nice. I like that. Number 3. What's the third thing?
Number
you gotta
3.
Understand this.
Be open and set expectations with your co-packer. Guys, this was the big. I know I've said the biggest mistake multiple times here, but
We're learning.
I think, and this is the part where, like, luckily we don't have a balcony in our building, otherwise I might jump off it some days, and I don't mean that lightly, because I really kick myself in the ass for not being more direct with our co-packer. I went into it with this expectation. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. I'm bringing you the products. You're the expert. You're going to give me these good. You're going to make this stuff. I'm going to walk away happy, and we're going to sell this stuff and everything. I didn't realize that you just need to hold a co-packer's feet to the fire. And if you don't, you're going to get screwed, and they're going to get a lot of money. Just be open, be honest. I mean, if I could go back a year ago, which I can't, I would say, hey, any sachet with a blister, blister in it, channel leak, a pleat, a tear, I would have rejected, but I just didn't know that. And so the other thing is, like, just know that transparency only goes one way. The co-packer's not going to tell you to look for defects, which bit me in the butt, but that's just my perspective. Like, just be open, set expectations.
Well, and I think this one piggybacks on number 1, because I remember the conversation we had with the first QA guy where he said, we're in the plant with our co-packers on every run. We're looking at product as it comes out. We're telling them what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Because if you're not, you're leaving it in the hands of, and assume positive intent. Like, we got burned, but assume that, most people are going to do the right thing. They're still not as sophisticated on your product. Whoever's making it in the co-man, they're not you. They're not your company. They don't fully understand 100% perfection. And so things will get through in production that you don't intend to. And the guy was telling us, like, you got to be there. You got to watch it. You got to hold them accountable. You got to push back. Yes, be nice, fine, if that's your thing in business, which it should be. But, like, also, this is your baby, and this is your stuff going out the door. So it better be what you want.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah said it to me in an interesting perspective, similar to the guy that you're talking about, where she goes, "It's your money. Like, you're not gonna go write a $200,000 check to your financial advisor and be like, hey, go blow this on Bitcoin and roulette, have fun. Like, you're gonna hold them accountable."
Yeah.
She goes, a lot of people just don't feel like they can hold that co-packer accountable because they feel like if they piss them off, they're screwed. It couldn't be further from the truth. I think that as a brand owner, you need to be a dick to the co-packer because it's your money. You are paying them. They're your materials. And at the end of the day, it's your product and your brand on the line.
I think you need to hold them accountable. I think there's a fine line in my experience in the food world in particular. A lot of these co-man are family owned. They've been doing it a long time. They're crusty old dudes. They don't give a shit about money because they've made enough of it. So if you're going to be a complete asshole to them, they will be like, we're out. But the accountability piece, for sure. You just got to be a business person. It is your money.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I think, I think about this. I was in such a hurry to get the product made, start marketing. Like, I had these unrealistic expectations. I don't know what the right word is. But if you are feeling rushed, if you feel rushed by that co-packer, call it out. call it out. I mean, I don't think there could be anything better than calling it out so they know that they're aware that you think there's an issue, and then everybody can try and figure out how to solve that. It was kind of funny. Last night I was watching, I was looking for something to watch, and the trailer for Sully was on.
Okay.
Have you watched that movie?
No, I haven't watched. I know what it is, but
It's a great exercise in communication. There's one part of the movie and the story that is amazing, and it's about communication. And when Sully knows that the plane he has to land in the Hudson, he says, "My plane," and the co-pilot says what?
I don't know.
The co-pilot says out loud, "Your plane." And where I'm going with this is that is amazing communication. It's clear. There's no confusion. So when you're working with a co-packer, use that type of communication. If there's an issue, call it out. If you feel rushed, you feel like something's not right, call it out. Make it verbal. Make it known. Because if it leaves that plant, as we found out, and they're able to disguise it, you are screwed and you are out all of your money. This is like the most wild thing I've ever experienced in my life. And so, be open, set the expectations. Here's what we expect. Here's what we want to get. If we get this, this, and this, here's what we're going to give you in return.
Nice. Do you want to show the surprise that you got in the bag from the co-man?
Which one?
The giant silver thing over by the sink.
Oh.
For those on YouTube, you could...
Yeah, when you're working with a co-man, this was raw material that, thank God... Yeah, well, you'll see.
This is the type of stuff that you're going to experience in the food world. Well, I mean, every industry has it, but apparently they were nice enough to gift us.
So we had raw materials left over that was sealed, so no air, moisture could hit it. Well, I pick up this bag. I'm like, well, gosh, that seems really heavy.
If you're not watching the video, Oli is holding a giant silver scooper spoon.
Yeah, this is I would believe this is an SQF violation right here.
I would believe it's in every single possible violation you could have.
You don't leave scoops in raw material for 4, 6, 7, 8 months. So again, hopefully this doesn't happen to you, but this is the shit that happened to us. And I mean, this is not even the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, that's just great. Oh, and the noise effect, perfect.
That was great. It sounded like that could be our new bell. Like when we get a new sale,
nice.
we'll ding it.
I like it.
Matt, what are the questions you have about the experience and the tips with the co-packer? Because I think we covered a lot, and it's if you're going to start a company, I mean, whether it's a food company or not, you're going to deal with some of the same stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to say it again and again and again. I think point number one is the most important. You've got to find someone that you can rely on and trust. And it doesn't have to be a hire. It doesn't have to be something complicated. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can find us. But just find someone who's been through this before that can guide you a little bit, because it is the wild, wild west when it comes to making food. I used to have vendors that would come to me and they'd want to pitch a brand new item for the deli at Jewel, which is a giant store in Chicago. And I'd be like, oh, cool. Where'd you make it? Oh, I made it in my bathtub. I'm like, you're joking, right? No, I literally made these samples in my bathtub. Like, people will make food everywhere in all sorts of random places, and co-mans most are really good, some are not. And so the more expertise you can get in your corner, the more you can avoid these issues.
Matt, I think one of the most shocking revelations of the whole experience, right? I grew up with a dad that was a CFO of a food company, and food safety was the non-negotiable. I mean, if there were any concerns, they were all over it.
Yeah.
Because that is a nightmare. What I'm most astonished by is, I'm starting to think that a lot of these certifications that companies get are kind of just arbitrary and bullshit, because
they're not. They're very hard to get.
Well,
they really are. I know you had a bad experience with this one company, but
yeah,
they're very hard to get.
Yes. And so my experience is jaded, but I'm like, how is it how do you have certifications if you can't follow basic rules? I mean, these guys are a legit major co-packer that we use. I mean, they're enormous. They're owned by a Fortune 500 now. And it could not be a more disorganized, wild shitstorm. One other funny thing about, holding their feet to the fire, finding a co-packer. Our co-packer lost $10,000 sachets of ours and still has no idea where they are. Literally, they said they shipped like 52,000 or 53,000 over to our fulfillment company. Our fulfillment company is diligent and really good.
We still haven't found those?
They received 42,000. The morons at this company are like, well, we shipped them. We're like, there's no receipt anywhere. And they just went radio silent and refused to answer. Like this is the type of stuff that I hope to God you don't have to deal with, but this is all information. Like, go into this eyes wide open that if you're going to use a co-packer, you have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
They are not going to do what's in your best interest. You have to be an advocate for yourself.
Nice, man. I love it. I think this is super helpful for someone who's trying to break into the space. And I really meant it. And we say it all the time, too. Like, we are here. We're open books. We're here to help if you've got questions in this space and want to talk. Ole's been through the ringer in the last year. Just reach out and let us know.
I will answer any question, and I will guide you. I mean, I think that's a big piece of my passion is I want to help other people. I don't want other people to make the same mistakes we made.
Yep.
And luckily I learned, and hopefully can prevent you from something else. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time.
Adios. See you guys.